Well, going back to Rivers State, the crisis there doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, despite the new administration. It has taken a more dramatic turn, with the current state of emergency imposed in the region, adding new layers of complexity to the Nigerian Labour Congress demand for the implementation of the new minimum wage. While labor unions had already been locked in a bitter standoff with the state government, the declaration of measures has heightened tensions, raising concerns over governance, workers' rights, and the economic stability of the state. With security forces deployed and restrictions in place, labor activism faces unprecedented challenges. Questions arise about whether this emergency declaration is a genuine response to security concerns or a tactical move to suppress labor protest. Additionally, workers fear that a state of emergency could further delay wage implementation, leaving them trapped in a cycle of economic hardship and uncertainty.
So to unpack the realities of this crisis and the implications of the state of emergency on labor negotiations, we're joined by Nwisabari Samuel, the Rivers State Chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. He's been on the front lines for labor advocacy and will help us understand the stakes in the escalating situation. And we'll also be joined by another pundit here. So let's first of all start with Mr. Nwisabari. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. But let's first get the idea here, or get the understanding here regarding how the state of emergency has affected labor negotiations when it comes to the new minimum wage.
Thank you for having me on News Extra. I am Rotator Nwisabari, the Chairman, National Youth Council of Nigeria, Rivers State Chapter, and by the special grace of God, the spokesperson in Committee of Chairmen Forum Nigeria. We have followed the activities in Rivers State, the political impasse, the judicial processes, and what have you. And we have also seen very notable persons, institutions, civil society organizations, youth group, show their position on most of these issues. Now, the issue here about the implementation, right?
Yes,
Hello?
indeed. Yes, about implementation, about negotiation, how the state of emergency is affecting the negotiation for minimum wage.
First of all, I was expecting Labour and every other meaningful organization to be very swift at thanking Mr. President for weighing into the issue in Rivers State and giving Rivers people an opportunity to lead again. Because we heard it when the whole impasse started, and the president called the parties involved, had an understanding, and said, do this party for peace to, be sustained in the state for development to strive. Every person who has seen all of these things happen in Rivers State should ordinarily thank President Tinubu for declaring the emergency rule in Rivers State. Because if that was not done, the issue of minimum wage wouldn't have been looked into. For example, the just suspended governor was unable to pay civil servants and Rivers workers. And we all know the impact the civil service has on the economy of the state. The civil service is the greatest employer of labor in Rivers State. And so if the governor could not pay them salaries as a result of a long ahead, the bottleneck that they have, it actually encumbered Rivers people because of their differences. So Labour, I expect them to first thank Mr. President for giving us the opportunity to have the benefit of receiving the reward of labor, which is salary or whatever you want to call it, before you can even think of the implementation. But like you know, we have also seen Labour hastily condemn the emergency rule in Rivers State, and we have also seen their own disposition on issue when they were mostly needed. This was an opportunity for the leadership of Labour in Rivers State to push themselves. We have actually observed their activities all over the time. We have not seen them being very vocal on issues. We are not saying that demanding implementation of the minimum wage. But under the last administration, this just suspended administration, we never saw anything like that. They were partying and eating with the suspended administration.
Mr. Samuel, Mr. Samuel, regarding what you're saying now, and NLC's inability to actually make good negotiations, if you put into the scheme of things the lack of governance that seemingly River State has had over the past few months, how does that actually play in here regarding that neglect by the NLC?
Before you take on that question, sir, let's quickly introduce our guest who has been standing by. That's the chairman of NLC in Rivers State, Alex Agwawo. Thank you very much for joining us as well. So go ahead and answer the question, please.
Okay. What was the position of Labour during the administration of the just suspended government? They were very complacent. They were so comfortable. They never issued any threats or protests or whatsoever. They were in good terms. You cannot just wake up overnight because probably the opinion, first of all, they have already shot the foot. They have already shot the first bullet by starting with the confrontation, showing their displeasure over the slow administrators' arrival in government house. Whatever reason they have is not an issue. But we did not see this energy in the last previous administration just suspended. What we are saying, you cannot expect this new administration to hurriedly begin to pay the minimum wage, which is expected of them. Nigerian youth believe that the minimum wage is expected to be paid as a when due.
All right, let's bring in the NLC chairman. You've actually,
necessary steps for this minimum wage to be paid. Will you expect the youth within few days in office that are trying to gather details and you're threatening a protest?
All right, let's give them room to respond now. Alex, please speak to us. You've heard all that he has said. What is your response? And just to add to everything, is a question, isn't it a bit too early to be threatening withdrawal of service?
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. My name remains Comrade Alex Agwawo, the State Chamber, Nigerian Labour Congress, River State. Yeah, I want to also welcome my fellow guests and every other person listening live on this News Central. And I think I'm thinking about when they see that Labour have been very dormant, have not been advocating on these both issues in River State. You remember that even after the Supreme Court judgment, we did a press statement release. Also, because Supreme Court is the highest arbiter of law, and for us, we are also worried when we suspend the allocation from the states, and we know the impact that is to this allocation that workers' salaries are being paid and other benefits of workers are being derived from. So we also wrote a letter, press release, asking the President of the Republic of Nigeria, the National Assembly, even the CJN, the Chief Justice, even our National Secretary, NLC and TS, to also intervene in order to make sure that all of these Supreme Court judgments, the political crisis in River State does not have any impact on our members' welfare, and also delay in terms of salary payments and implementation of the minimum wage. So these are issues we raise in that our letter after the Supreme Court judgment. So after the judgment, now we had issue of a state of emergency. And let me put it in record. At the time that judgment was passed, Supreme Court, on 28th of February, before they have been engaging the government. Remember, the River State government have implemented a minimum wage of 85,000 to all River State civil servant workers. They were having challenge in terms of implementation at the local government levels, which we have been engaging with the local government chairman and the governor to make sure that this minimum wage is implemented. As of February, we already have the understanding that the minimum will be paid at the end of February, salary payroll. And that confirm from our people that everything is being put in place, work invitation, before the judgment came on 28th of February. And at that point, the whole Government Council elected to be dissolved. So, and that was another one concern also with the letter. As I'm talking to now, as of that February, the workers in local government have not received their salaries up till now. And the March is over, they have not also received their salaries. So, when the issue was okay, also put it, all that with that, all of this happening, it shouldn't affect the salary of workers. Workers, they labor for their salary. You shouldn't suffer in the midst of all of this political partner. And the workers of River State are not willing to be the grass when two elephants are fighting in this situation. That this period, the economic situation of the country is very difficult for someone to afford to get salary as at 20. That is our concern. And we did not say that we are going to go to protest immediately or going to strike. Who said that, if you read our letter clearly, that if at the end of the month salaries are not paid, that the council will begin to initiate steps to make sure that we advance our members' welfare.
All right. Has there been an interaction? Alex.
Which is not taken out of context. We are not talking that we're going to go on strike. We are not giving ultimatum. So people say they want to go on protest. Is it that there's a grand plan that salaries will not be paid, or the government is not going to do what is give the workers what is? But I'm happy. As of today, I got a message to my members that as a civil servant, salaries have been paid. We are very happy about it.
Oh, okay. You're confirming now that salaries, Alex, you're confirming now that salaries have been paid, so there is no need for any action from the NLC.
No need for action, but that's our concern. In as much as workers' welfare in the state is being taken care of, NLC don't have an issue with anybody. Our major concern is regards to the welfare for members in River State. So if that happens for us, we don't have any issue.
Okay.
Now, we don't have issue with the administrator. We don't have issue with anybody as far as labor is concerned. But for us, as laborers, we deserve our wages. And
okay, Alex, for the purpose of emphasis and
that if you work, you should be paid for whatever you work for.
All right, for the purpose of clarity and, so there is no ambiguity here. None of the people that are owed salaries are still being owed. That issue has been completely resolved as of this moment. Alex.
I think Alex is...
Okay, he did say that they no longer have issues with the government once that has been done. But let me come back to our second guest, Samuel, I believe. What is your response now to the fact that NLC is saying all they want is for the government to do what is right? Now that they have done that, they don't have issues.
Well, first of all, I want to thank God for what is happening, and God has begun to vindicate Rivers youth on their position. But one thing I want to tell the leader of the group, Alex, is to, in the words of Mr. President, former Goodluck Jonathan, on a proverb, an Indian proverb, he says, "Wake up from your pretentious sleep. Wake up from your pretentious sleep." I will call the labor and their leadership to wake up from their pretentious sleep. Because for me, it had no reason. There was no reason, first of all, for the declaration of that test to shut down the activities and go on strike and all of that. There was no reason for it. Because we didn't even see their position. They just rushed to the media. It means that it suggests that they were on a dining table with the just suspended administration. But that is not our issue.
No, but you're simply just saying what you believe should have been their response. But you can't have somebody experiencing something and then tell them how to react. They made an announcement. Whether or not it was the announcement that instigated the payment of the salary remains to be seen. But they have a legitimate right to say, this is how I feel. Don't you think you're being a bit harsh on the response from the NLC?
My concern, that is exactly how they were supposed to feel. But looking at the situation in Rivers State, having seen the political impasse put the entirety of Rivers people on hold in terms of development, they would have engaged the system in conflict resolution. We have 3 C's. You consult, you consolidate, before you confront. At what point did the NLC consult? At what point did they consolidate to have come up with the position of confrontation? It means that they were out for a script. But like I would want to beg them to gather and thank Mr. President. Because if not for the intervention of Mr. President for the emergency, they cannot even be coming here today to talk about implementing the minimum wage. The minimum wage would have been overtaken by so many events as a result of what has happened. But what was the position of Labour during the crisis in Rivers State that brought us to that point? Labour had their own position that was against Rivers people. Labour supported 3 persons to legislate over the activities of Rivers State against Rivers people. But keeping that aside, because we Rivers State have resolved to stand by the truth, stand by the rule of law, do what is right.
Okay.
And we are very happy.
All right, Mr. Samuel. All right, Mr. Samuel. I want to reserve our final question for Mr. Alex here. Now, Mr. Samuel actually raised some very valid points, but we are almost out of time, so I'm not going to let you go too in-depth into those. But what mechanism is the NLC putting in place, especially with a state of emergency lasting for 6 months, so that a reoccurrence of this kind of situation does not occur? What kind of mechanism is in place by the NLC to engage the government regarding the payment of salaries?
Well, I think we have made our position very clear in our statements regards to salary payments and the other welfare that concern our members. That this whole thing, well, I want to tell my friend here, the US Series Chairman, that Labour is not a political organization. You must understand that. If you look at our history in this jurisdiction, in terms of our position, it is basically how it affects our members in Rivers State. But I'm not trying to begin to move into what happened in the House of Assembly, the executive. We have never made any statement in regards to that. That 3 or 27 man is one in charge, or we have never made statement in regards to that. We thought the governor is the head of the administration in Rivers State. He is one we interface with. So he is the highest employer of Labour. So we have the right to engage in regards to issues that pertain our members. So that should not be seen as if we are supporting the current administration. If the administrator wish to engage us, what can he engage? He invited stakeholders. But they invite Labour. He didn't invite us. We are not called upon to say what are the challenges or briefing. So Labour have not invited, and we don't have any means of reaching out to him. We tried to reach out to the previous head of service to reach out to him, but it was impossible as of then. So for us, we have the duty, we have the right to protect the welfare of our members.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
My friend, that's our responsibility. We are not looking in their politics. The National Council of Nigeria can be political. The Labour is not a political organization.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.